Welcome to Culture Stack. My name is Gary Arnell. I didn't expect to be talking about this topic again so soon. We're in the midst of the confirmation hearings for Justice Amy Coney Barrett, and I recently published the essay on originalism versus a living constitution, and as well as a podcast episode on that topic. And a dear longtime friend of mine, who is a lesbian and an eloquent, resolute defender of all things LGBT+, posed this question to me after reading that essay. She asked me, how are abortion and gay marriage not a question for the judiciary? And I've seen that same question or similar questions posed by many of my progressive friends who are dismayed with how the hearings have gone, who see these hearings as evidence that a significant portion of the population don't believe in healthcare for all, climate change, sensible gun control, they're anti-choice, and it's really frustrating and worrying for me. It seems to represent a significant misunderstanding of the way our government is structured and how change is supposed to occur. So my friend's question, and I'm thinking of not just my friend who I mentioned at the beginning, but other friends that I have elsewhere. And these questions go right to the heart of these confirmation hearings. We often look at the Supreme Court judges, at least I did for a very long time, as those who should right a wrong when no one else would or could. That they were the final arbiters of justice, the court of last resort. Under the separation of powers doctrine, however, this is not the role of the Supreme Court or judges in general. The judiciary is not where right and wrong is decided objectively. Judges do not make decisions based on natural law. They do not say, for example, quote, setting aside the laws of man, what would Jehovah or Elohim or Allah or Jesus or Alusi or Yoruba or Tiandi or Tianzu or Ananuki or Zeus or Anat or Quetzalcoatl or science or my societal class or my political party or whomever or whatever I revere as the ultimate source of right and wrong, what do I perceive that they say that I should do? That's not what the judiciary should do. No, to the judges, the ultimate source to which they look is the written law, that is, constitutional law, the Constitution and all of its amendments, the will of the people as enshrined into law, the most recent time they made the effort to do so. The highest law of the land that a judge recognizes in her official capacity is not God, it's the Constitution. This doctrine protects us from the tyranny of the minority. That is, the subjective decisions of 5 unelected judges. When a case is brought before the judges, therefore, they decide the case based on its merits compared to the written law. Now, the purview of right and wrong, of natural law, is left to the people, as decided through the messy, back and forth, difficult process of representative democracy. It's slow. It's not nimble. It's frustrating, even agonizing, when we believe we're on the wrong end of the will of the people, as blacks were for many years, as women who could not vote for many years were. The founders designed the machinery of our political process to move very slowly, so that movements in a bad direction were difficult and made slowly. Conversely, however, so are movements in the right direction. The alternative, however, is Madison's spectacles of turbulence and contention that characterized governments closer to a true democracy throughout history. So, we must converse and convince. We must protest and plead. We must march and make peace with the present while we work towards a better world, a world where the majority recognize the justice, the uprightness of our position, and together we amend the law. When Adam said, quote, "Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other," end quote. I believe he had this idea in mind. Our system is wholly reliant on a people who desire and act in a way that moves ever closer, however slowly, to a society that lives in accordance with natural law, actual objective justice. As far as, to answer my friend's question, as far as gay marriage and abortion go, even Justice Ginsburg, activist though she was, favored this approach, the incremental back and forth of the judiciary ruling where it could, but the heavy lifting being done by the people in the legislature. She said, quote, "That would have been my ideal picture of how this issue would have gotten resolved instead of having the Supreme Court as the single decision maker." You can find the reference for that in the written version of this essay on culturestack.online. Now to the painful point. There obviously was no right to abortion or gay marriage in constitutional law. The people never conceived of or created those rights through the constitutional process. That doesn't mean those rights can't be created. They certainly can. But using the Supreme Court to do an end run around what is clearly a legislative role has obviously moved us in the direction of turbulence and contention because the people feel coerced, at least or especially on the subject of abortion. And because an end run was done, abortion advocates live in regular fear of a shift on the court that might do an end run in the opposite direction. Turbulence and contention indeed. Under our form of government, the people are sovereign and the ultimate arbiters of right and wrong. The founders, knowing that within us exists both reason and irrationality, created a complex system that slows down the deliberation and pace of change in the hopes that the former attribute comes out victorious and not the latter. This issue and these issues are not going away. America was founded on a set of ideals. We have never achieved them. We likely never will. But it was founded on a set of ideals that we're constantly or should constantly be striving towards. If Adams was right, and it's incumbent upon the people to recognize and move society in the direction of right, that's a significant burden. And it makes me ask the question, what am I doing? How hard am I trying? Of my discretionary time, how much am I spending in that effort to learn, first of all, what is the right through reading, writing, and discussion, and then conversing with my fellow citizens, moving the dial, moving the needle on public opinion towards a place where greater equality, greater freedom, greater prosperity, greater happiness exists for more and more people, where true wrongs are righted. That responsibility lies with us. I wonder if one day we will understand, if we'll have a picture of how much we could have done individually and collectively, and how much we didn't, how much we fell short, and what we did instead. A conversation that I have with my children with regard to video games is, it's not so much that spending time on video games is bad. I spent a lot of time on video games as a kid. And I didn't play any super violent video games. The question is, what are you not doing because you're playing video games? And I have to wonder. I believe that recreation, relaxation, and distraction are necessary and healthy in their proper frame, in their proper amounts. And only each of us can know what those proper amounts are. How much is too much? How much recreation is too much? How much relaxation is too much? How much distraction is too much? How much time that we spent in those things were beyond what we needed for our optimal health and could have been spent in learning and righting those wrongs. As I listen to the news and I watch or I read what my friends are saying, my progressive friends in particular, particularly those who believe in abortion rights and I have some dear friends who are homosexual and are married. As I hear the frantic, the dismay in their voices, what's going to happen to my marriage if these laws are overturned, for example. These are serious, serious issues. I wonder how have I spent my life, have I spent my time sufficiently in that cause of bringing about that right in the right way. The right way is not the judiciary. The right way is the legislature. That separation of powers is paramount. It's paramount to maintaining the structure within which we can exact change. If we remove the separations of power, if we open the watertight doors in the ship of state, and a torpedo of sufficient magnitude strikes our nation, whether that's race wars, what have you, it could sink our ship of state and we would go backwards. But again, I'm haunted by the idea that there's more that I could do and more that we could do, particularly those among us who are privileged, who have a great deal of discretionary time. How are we choosing to use that? Are we feeding the hungry and clothing the naked and housing the homeless and healing the sick and liberating the captive and educating the ignorant and all those things to find those who are mourning, who are downtrodden, who are bearing heavy burdens and heavy weights and struggles that perhaps they don't feel they can share? What are we doing to seek them out and to comfort and correct society, even if it's just in our circle, and slowly move the dial in changes that are necessary? But an important step is understanding the structure that we have and the genius of the framework. When you look at, I think it was John Yoo, who talked about how frustrating it is, how frustrating it can be that our system moves so slowly. But compared to what? Look at the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, the many other revolutions of forms of government throughout the world. How many other countries have lasted since ours was founded without enormous upheaval and turmoil as people try to enact change? That's the beauty, as slow and exasperating as our system can be, because it takes a long time. It took 100 years almost to outlaw slavery, and then another 100 years to outlaw Jim Crow. The hearts of men, the mountains in the hearts of men are slow to move. And the societal institutions that are theoretically and traditionally responsible for moving those mountains and telling the earth movers where the earth needs to go, churches, families, etc., they're under extreme stress and distress. How are we learning? What are we seeking? How are we seeking out where we should go as a society? And then working both locally and at large to remedy those issues. These confirmation hearings will very likely come to a close soon, and Justice Barrett will be confirmed, and I, for one, am very grateful because she's an originalist. She will close, in her capacity as one of 9, she will close the watertight door whenever possible. I trust her when she says that she will judge on the rule of law. She will look at the law and rule on that, even if it goes against her own personal beliefs. And that's the kind of justice we need. But she's not the only one who needs to be at work. She's just one cog in this enormous, incredible machine that is our society. We each have a role to play. Am I playing mine? Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like, comment. Love to hear from you. Thanks so much.